and came back over and over and referred family and friends to see me. The media convinced them that everything I did was wrong and bad. They feel I broke their trust. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. It is just a complete nightmare. The stories that are being fabricated to sensationalize this. Then the AG would only accept my plea if I said what I did was not medical and was for my own pleasure. They forced me to say that, or they were going to trial and not accepting the plea. I wanted to plead no contest, but the AG refused that. I was so manipulated by the AG and now Aquilina, and all I wanted was to minimize stress to everyone, like I wrote earlier. Going down a little bit further. In addition, with the federal case, my medical treatments with the Olympic/national team gymnastics were discussed as part of the plea. The FBI investigated them in 2015 and found nothing substantial because it was medical. Now they are seeking the media attention and financial reward. Would you like to withdraw your plea?
No.
Because you are guilty, aren't you? Are you guilty, sir?
I would accept my plea. Exactly.
The new sign language has become treatment. These quotes, these air quotes, I will never see them again without thinking of you and your despicable acts. I don't care how they're used, I will always think of quotes and the word treatment. It was not treatment, what you did. It was not medical. There is no medical evidence that was ever brought. When this case first came to me, and I've told you this, and I apologize to the Olympians and athletes, but I have 5 children, 2 dogs. My parents live with me. I work 4 jobs. I don't have much time for television. I don't watch sports. Although last year I was a soccer coach, much to the laughter of my family. I didn't know anything about you, or your name, or anything that was going on. And so when I kept saying, we're going to trial, here's the date, and everyone wanted more time, I said, no, here's the cutoff. And then the cases were merged and we delayed it. And I still thought, well, maybe there's a defense of medical treatment. And why did I think that? Because it's my job to be fair and impartial, but also because my 2 brothers and my father are very well known and respected doctors. Real doctors with real treatments and research, dedicated to healing. I haven't considered that in this case, but I have heard from your survivors now that they trust doctors like I trust the doctors in my family and the doctors I go to. But I still thought, well, there's a defense of medical treatment, and there are changes in the medical community every day for the betterment. So up until the time you pled, I believed that maybe there was a defense here, despite the felony information. I was ready for trial. Your counsel was ready for trial. The Attorney General's office was ready for trial. You, sir, decided to plead because there was no medical treatment. You did this for your pleasure and your control. This letter, which comes 2 months after your plea, tells me that you have not yet owned what you did, that you still think that somehow you are right, that you are a doctor, that you're entitled, that you don't have to listen, and that you did treatment. I wouldn't send my dogs to you, sir. There's no treatment here. You finally told the truth. Inaction is an action. Silence is indifference. Justice requires action and a voice, and that is what has happened here in this court. 168 buckets of water were placed on your so-called match that got out of control. I also, like law enforcement, or like the Attorney General, want to thank law enforcement for their investigation, but I also want to be the voice on behalf of the survivors who asks law enforcement to continue their fine work and to also include the federal government. There has to be a massive investigation as to why there was inaction. Justice requires more than what I can do. Our court having already sent out 200 of the 800 juror requests. And they told me their plea, and would I consider it in lieu of trial? There was the agreement between us because I always, and they know it, they are familiar with me, let people speak. And I wanted all victims. And we had a discussion about which victims. And of course there was an objection to one of them. I let it come in anyway. That was part of the plea that you entered into to allow the victim impact statements. Because after that discussion, I know your lawyers, as good as they are, sat down with you and said, the judge is going to allow this. And when it comes down to it, I know it also because this was signed by the Attorney General, by defendant, and by defendant's counsel on November 20th. There isn't a survivor who hasn't come in here and said how world-renowned you were. So your urges escalated, and based on the numbers that we all know go unreported, I can't even guess how many vulnerable children and families you actually assaulted. Your decision to assault was precise, calculated, manipulative, devious, despicable. I don't have to add words because your survivors have said all of that. I don't want to repeat it. You can't give them back their innocence, their youth. You can't give them. And I want you to know, I'm not good at math. I have a cheat sheet. I'm only a lawyer. I know that you have a lot of education in physics and math. Because I need to send a message to the parole board in the event somehow God is gracious, and I know He is, and you survived the 60 years in federal court first, and then you start on my 40 years? You've gone off the page here as to what I'm doing. My page only goes to 100 years. Sir, I'm giving you 175 years, which is 2,100 months. I've just signed your death warrant. I need everyone to be quiet. I still have contempt powers. I told you I'm not nice. I find that you don't get it, that you're a danger. You remain a danger. I am a judge who believes in life and rehabilitation when rehabilitation is possible. I have many defendants come back here and show me the great things they've done in their lives after probation, after parole. I don't find that's possible with you. So, you will receive jail credit on counts 1, 2, 5, 8, 10, and 18 of 369 days. On count 24, you will have 370 days jail credit. If you are ever out, which is doubtful, you would be required to register with the Michigan Sex Offenders Registration Act, complying with all of the requirements of that act, in addition to global position monitoring system. You would wear GPS. You will pay restitution in the amount to be determined